And what Frank dropped on the soil here is we're cleaning out some of the chicken pens and that today, as well as the bunny pens, and putting them on this garden section. What you're going to find here, and again for brevity's sake I have to kind of keep this low for OPSEC's sake, but this is a pile from, this would have been last month, and this was from just a little while ago, and then this was just from just a little while ago also. And we'll show our rabbits in another video series we're fixing to start about rabbit raising and that. But this isn't that much manure, okay? You can see this is gonna only produce a very thin layer over this this gardening area right here, and there ain't a lot of it here, guys. This isn't that much of an area as far as to be able to really produce a lot of food in here. The area that this will cover, maybe 40 by 20. You know, contrary to what you might have read and things like that, this size area is not going to produce all the vegetables we need in a year. You know, it might produce a lot of fresh in the summer and a lot of show-off stuff to our friends, but it's not going to produce everything we need to eat fresh plus can to keep us through the winter. It just isn't going to happen. I don't care what Mel tells you. I don't care what, you know, any of these intensive gardening guys tell you. You get out and you do this on your own, and you'll understand then. Okay. All right. Getting back to the manures and such. This is a mix of chicken manure, and then you see some of the bedding and such in there as well from the pine chips. Actually, those are cedar chips because it really helps with the chickens, who tend to get a little stinky at times, especially when it's when their pen happens to get wet or something like that. Now, there's some mixed feelings on using the litter because it contains the you know, the chips of the wood and such in there, and the wood does actually rob a little bit of nitrogen. So the common thinking is, as the wood is being broke down in the soil. The other point of view on that is the wood breaking down is going to add more organic matter into the soil, you know, and therefore, you know, add some bulk and such like that to the soil as well. You're going to have to make your own decision on that. You know, I'm not going to sit here and sort through there and take the wood out or something like that. We basically just shovel it out as it comes, you know, off the floor of the chicken pen. So, you know, I haven't seen much of a problem with using it straight as it comes off the chicken shed floor. And here's some. Okay, getting back to the how far will manure go as your sole source of fertilizer. This is an area, well, let's pace it off here. We'll be very liberal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it didn't even cover all of it. I would guess, based on the size of these tarps we use to cover these areas when they're not in use, that this is approximately 10 by 20, maybe less than that, maybe slightly more. And this is the manure that we were pulling out in the piles, raked down and such. You don't have to till this stuff in, folks. You can if you'd like to. The earthworms are going to pull it down, and it's going to rot and things like that. You can turn it over with the spade or with the shovel, and that's no problem. Getting back to some of the things we were talking about before, the bone meal. This is bone meal applied here, and again, this is you know, considered an organic, you know, an organic product, and that this is going to help with the phosphoric acid, and that's going to do a lot of the same thing the wood ash does. And we do pour all of our wood ash into the garden areas and that as well too. You can see we got some onions starting here. We got our onions in for the year. One of the other things to think about when you're doing all this stuff is divide your gardening areas up into little subplots or subsections, and keep a little notebook. I'm really bad about record keeping on stuff like that, but I finally realized the importance of doing that. What you're going to do is you're going to write, you know, Garden 09, you know, North Garden A or South Garden B or whatever all your little plots are divided up into in that. And what you're going to do is you're going to write what all was grown in that area. For example, in this part of what we call our North Garden here, there hasn't been any root crops in this section. The closest thing was there were some carrots over here, a little bit last spring of '08. So again, we're kind of rotating our crops as far as where they're located and such like that. We don't want to have, 5 or 6 years straight of the same exact crop, say these onions or something like that, growing in the same spot. It's gonna increase the chances of disease, the pests, different things like that. So we're gonna, and you can look this stuff up in good gardening books and things like that. You're gonna need to plan out a decent crop rotation pattern. For example, a heavy feeder like, say, your sweet corn and things like that. On the first video, you saw the pile of sweet corn, the plot of sweet corn we had growing over there, and that, that's obviously not going to go. That's a very heavy feeder. It's taking a lot of nitrogen out of the soil. In that plot this spring, what we'll have in there is we'll have something like a bean or a pea, a legume that when we inoculate it, when we rub it down, with the rhizoba, Rizboa, however you pronounce that, that you get the little seed inoculant for beans and peas and such, it's going to, yeah, I caught it. It's going to add the little nodules on the end of the roots are going to basically going to make nitrogen from the air. Now, all beans and peas, all legumes will do that, but in general, it's probably best to inoculate it with the little thing. And we've got a little gal buzzing around there. I don't know if you can see her at all. Dead of winter here, but the bees are still out doing some work, and you can see here also, this is some of the waste from the fireplaces and such that we're putting in this area, and that as well too. This area here, we figured what we might do this spring is we're going to, and you can see, same like with your composting and that here too, you don't need a special little bin and to spend $200 on a little spin hopper and a toad roller and all that kind of nonsense. Basically, all you need to do is just get it into the soil. What we did here last spring was, these areas, we didn't cover this garden. Usually when something's not in use, what we'll do is we'll use one of these large plastic tarps, and which basically we get from a friend that owns a billboard company, and it's the vinyls they put down, but we use those as row covers, and what it does is it keeps it from where, like right here, you're seeing all these little weed growth and things like that. We'll have to turn the soil and or work the soil with the tiller and such before we get it ready to plant here in a couple months. So the nice thing about the tarps is you can just pull the tarps back, and if they've been laying there a couple months, bam, there won't be any weeds growing in there and that. Again, that's up for your interpretation, how you want to do that. I realize, some of the organo-Nazis think, plastic is, Satan himself up there with Obama and the Antichrist. That's your business. You have to figure that out on your own. If you want to use it, fine. If not, it works good for us. But some of the residue here from the crops from last spring, it was basically just raked to the center of this area, and it was left to rot. And you dig down in that, a lot of that stuff's rotten. Is that less work than maybe getting it all together, putting it in a wheelbarrow, and dragging it half an acre away to a official, according to Hoyle, compost pile? Well, yeah, sure, it's less work. And when we're talking about doing just more than 1 or 2 little cutesy beds, we want to save as much calories as we can in doing this sort of thing, especially if we're doing it for real in an actual, calories count, survival gardening type situation. Going over here, just hitting some of the other things. The other things we can do is some cover crops, and we're going to walk down and look at those here in